The 31-day journey of the soul after death. They say the moment your heart stops beating, the veil between worlds begins to lift. But what if I told you that death is not a final exhale, but the first breath of another reality, hidden in the pages of a forbidden manuscript, one whispered about in Egyptian tombs and Tibetan scrolls? There lies a cosmic roadmap, 31 days of transformation that unfold like alchemical stages of awakening. This mysterious book does not speak of an end, but of a sacred beginning, a crossing into realms where time flows differently and the soul confronts its purest essence. The ancients referred to it as a sacred calendar of the afterlife, a celestial sequence guided not by clocks, but by vibration. Those who dared to transcribe it were persecuted, their writings reduced to ashes. Yet fragments survived, hidden in cloisters and beneath stone altars awaiting rediscovery. On Day 4, the soul begins its departure, not merely from the body, but from the dense illusion of form. This phase, described in both the Egyptian Book of the Dead and the Tibetan Bardo Thodol, marks the initiation of the inner pilgrimage. The soul hovers, often unaware of its transition, tethered by emotional residues and echoes of the physical plane. Some perceive lights, others shadows, depending on the resonance they cultivated in life. Indigenous shamans speak of this as the phase where the spirit still walks among the breathers, collecting its last sensations and impressions before the threshold opens. It is not unusual for the soul to attempt communication, to linger in familiar places, or to cling to unresolved sentiments. But every second, the gravitational pull of the beyond intensifies, beckoning it into deeper states of realization. From days 2 to 4, a veil of confusion often clouds the soul's clarity. Memories interweave with archetypal visions, some comforting, others confronting. During this phase, the soul is offered its first glimpse of the mirror, an energetic field reflecting its dominant frequency. In esoteric traditions, this stage is known as the Gate of Echoes, where all unhealed wounds surface not to punish, but to illuminate. Spiritual mentors in ancient texts refer to this as the phase of cosmic detox, where attachments, grudges, and fears either dissolve or tighten their grip. Those who cultivated inner alchemy in life through silence, contemplation, or service often pass swiftly, but those weighed by guilt or ignorance may feel trapped in loops, unable to discern whether they dream or exist. Between days 5 and 10, a deeper awakening unfolds. The soul begins to recognize that it is no longer of the world it once knew. Here, the sacred guides appear, not in the form of winged angels, but as luminous presences shaped by the soul's own symbology. Some see ancestors, others radiant archetypes from their faith or culture. This is not hallucination, but the manifestation of the subconscious merged with higher intelligence. The energy is now lighter, but the soul is still malleable, like molten gold waiting to be forged. Alchemical metaphors abound in forbidden texts. The soul at this point is liquid awareness being poured into the vessel it prepared in life. Whether that vessel is luminous or fragmented depends on the integrity of its journey before death. And yet, the most profound transformation is still ahead. Around day 11, the soul begins to perceive harmonic vibrations, what many near death experiences describe as celestial music or pure light. This is the resonance of the soul, aligning with cosmic memory. It is during this stretch from days 11 to 13 that the soul encounters beings of high vibration, guardians, guides, sometimes even its own higher self. These encounters are not random, but reflect the culmination of lifetimes. In African oral traditions and Buddhist chants alike, this phase is honored with rituals of remembrance and release, enabling the soul to begin the deeper descent into healing. But what awaits beyond this reunion is even more mysterious. a crossing into the hall of mirrors, where the soul must face itself not as it was, but as it truly is. Stages of death, from separation to transformation. In the earliest stage of death, day 1, the soul detaches from the body like mist rising from still water. There is no violent rupture, only a gradual unthreading of light from matter. This is not merely biological, it is spiritual disassociation, a sacred transition recognized by mystics and sages across epochs. In ancient Gnostic scrolls, this moment is called the Great Unbinding, where consciousness unhooks from the physical anchor. The soul, still drenched in the illusion of embodiment, may not yet realize it has crossed. It lingers in liminality, wandering through the vibrations of memory and matter. Many experience the illusion of normalcy, walking into rooms, hearing voices, reaching for hands that no longer feel. But something shifts subtly. Time becomes fluid and space dissolves. This is the portal's threshold. By day 2 or 3, an inner friction begins to emerge. The soul is pulled between two worlds, echoes of life and whispers of the beyond. This stage mirrors the bardo of confusion, described in Tibetan texts, an emotional fog where the soul confronts the weight of its attachments. Love, fear, guilt, longing, they echo loudly, unprocessed and magnified. The alchemical masters wrote of this stage as the boiling phase, where emotional impurities rise to the surface for transmutation. One's unhealed wounds, unspoken truths, and unresolved ties may appear as visions, phantoms, or vibrations that envelop the soul. And yet, hidden within this confrontation lies opportunity, the opportunity for release. To pass through this veil is to begin a deeper liberation, a shedding of densities acquired over lifetimes. Around days 4 to 6, the soul begins to witness itself not as it was, but as it became. This is where transformation initiates in earnest. The individual confronts not a god or external judge, but its own energetic resonance, a mirror of accumulated choices. Each act of kindness glows like a star. Each deceit or cruelty appears as shadowed weight. Esoteric teachings describe this as the hall of self-knowing, often symbolized in forbidden manuscripts by serpents swallowing their tails, eternal feedback loops of cause and effect. In this reflective domain, the soul's emotional spectrum becomes its landscape, valleys of regret, mountains of courage, rivers of love. To traverse this terrain is to understand one's true nature without distortion. The soul does not suffer punishment, but revelation. And that revelation burns like sacred fire. As the process deepens, days 7 to 10 introduce the phase of surrender. Here, resistance softens. The soul, worn by its inner pilgrimage, begins to dissolve into cosmic rhythm. This is the beginning of energetic reconfiguration. Mystical traditions compare this moment to the chrysalis, the death within death, where the old self disintegrates to birth a luminous form. The Sabiduria Ancestral speaks of this as the moment of reweaving, where energy once fragmented begins to harmonize with divine frequency. Ancestors, spirit guides, or even long-lost soulmates may appear as guiding presences. Their purpose is not to lecture, but to assist the soul in remembering its essence. Through symbols, visions, or silent communion, these entities help transmute sorrow into wisdom, fear into light, and shame into illumination spiritual. But this transformation is not automatic. For some, the friction between past identity and emerging awareness triggers resistance. If the soul clings too tightly to who it believed it was, it may spiral into illusion, projecting dreamlike realities to avoid surrender. The text's prohibidos caution of this. The looping realms, where unresolved egos create simulations to escape accountability. And yet even here, the path is not lost. Energy cosmica flows persistently, like a sacred current calling the soul back to alignment. Those who practiced alquimia interior, meditation, sacred breath, ancestral rituals, often glide through this stage with grace. Their vibrations, refined in life, now serve as compass. And just as transformation begins to solidify, the soul is drawn towards something unexpected, a reunion not with the living, but with presences it thought long gone. Self-judgment and life review. Between days 5 and 7, the soul begins what is perhaps the most profound and disarming phase of its journey, the self-review. But this is no court of divine wrath, no celestial tribunal echoing condemnations. Rather, it is the unveiling of one's essence before the mirror of pure awareness. Ancient mystics described it not as judgment, but as resonance, a harmonic alignment between who we believed we were and what our energy reveals. The soul begins to witness its life unfold, not from its own eyes, but from the hearts of those it touched. Each moment replays in holographic clarity. A single word spoken in anger now reverberates through the emotions of the one who received it. A quiet act of compassion now blossoms in cosmic fragrance. This is the first fire of inner alchemy. The Gnostic and Hermetic traditions referred to this stage as the Chamber of Echoes, where the soul, stripped of egoic filters, is immersed in the emotional truth of its legacy. There are no lies here. The illusions maintained in life dissolve like smoke under light. This process is often accompanied by deep emotional waves: sorrow, joy, regret, revelation. It is said that some souls weep not from guilt, but from the overwhelming beauty of seeing their forgotten kindnesses ripple through generations. Others tremble as they witness the pain they caused, unacknowledged in the world of the living. The ancestral wisdom embedded in ancient scrolls warns: what we bury emotionally does not die, it waits, and here it awakens. This is where many begin to grasp the immensity of their own spiritual potential, or the weight of their neglect. Interestingly, this review is not chronological. It flows by emotion, by intensity, by the frequency of choices made. The soul is not bound to a timeline, but to a vibrational spectrum. Moments of silence, decisions made in solitude, internal conflicts, these take on immense significance. Prohibited texts recovered from desert monasteries speak of this as the unfolding lotus, where petals of experience open in layers, revealing sacred geometries behind the mundane. What was once seen as trivial in life, a glance, a hesitation, an act of listening, may shine brighter than grand speeches or public deeds. And conversely, actions praised in the outer world may appear hollow, weighed down by impure intentions. Here, the soul learns that the cosmos is not impressed by appearances. It is tuned only to the frequency of truth. Yet despite its intensity, this phase is not meant to punish. It is designed to liberate, to offer the soul the gift of awareness, of transparency, of unfiltered insight. In this light, even our darkest chapters become sacred teachers. Hidden mysteries of our psyche unfold, and we begin to recognize the patterns we carried through lifetimes: fears inherited, desires repeated, lessons evaded. Many spiritual lineages encourage ritual confession before death, not for moral cleansing, but to ease this very process of review. Those who arrived at death having practiced reflection, who cultivated stillness and reconciled with their past, often pass through this stage with a peaceful heart. Their cosmic energy, aligned through intention, transforms this mirror into a window, a portal toward greater elevation. And yet this stage doesn't simply end, it prepares the soul for a choice. For with insight comes agency. The soul must now decide how to proceed. Shall it rise, drawn toward light and transformation? Shall it descend, clinging to identities and unresolved pain? Or shall it remain in orbit, circling familiar frequencies until it is ready to move? The journey from this point forward is shaped not by fate, but by frequency. And in the shimmering space beyond this mirror, something begins to emerge, an ancient truth whispered by sages. Even beyond death, free will remains. And how the soul chooses to use it defines the next horizon. The role of free will and spiritual vibration. After the soul confronts its own legacy through the mirror of life review, a sacred paradox arises. Even beyond death, the soul retains the power to choose. This revelation is not a modern fantasy. It is rooted in ancestral wisdom and echoed across esoteric texts. From the Upanishads to the Hermetic tablets, we find teachings that proclaim vibration governs direction and intention shapes destiny. The soul, now aware of its energetic state, begins to drift toward matching frequencies in the unseen realms. These realms are not external locations, but layers of resonance, each vibrating with specific qualities: peace, chaos, longing, enlightenment. The soul, like a tuning fork, is drawn to the frequency it emitted throughout life. This is the hidden law of post-mortem navigation, one the ancients encoded in prohibited texts, long buried or burned. The concept of imposed judgment fades. Here, there is no celestial dictator assigning realms, no rigid system of reward or punishment. Instead, the soul gravitates by resonance. This is the moment when cosmic energy reveals itself as the true compass. Souls attuned to forgiveness, gratitude, and compassion often find themselves ascending toward luminous plains, fields described in Egyptian papyri as the lands of becoming, and in Sufi poetry as gardens of the inner sun. Those steeped in fear, shame, or unresolved guilt may remain in denser zones, phantasmic realities shaped by their own echoing emotions. But even here, there is no damnation, only delay. The soul can always shift its frequency, evolve, recalibrate. The journey is fluid, never final. And that fluidity is governed by free will, the most sacred and often forgotten force of the cosmos. Some souls, understanding their state, choose to reincarnate, not as punishment, but as continuation. The decision to return is deeply personal and rarely immediate. It is made not through words, but through alignment. When the soul feels that further refinement is needed, lessons unlearned, love unexpressed, it may be drawn to the cycle of birth once more. But even this return is complex. Ancient traditions speak of souls choosing time, location, and even the energetic patterns of their next incarnation. Buddhist scrolls describe the womb gates, portals through which consciousness re-enters matter, magnetized by specific desires or karmic threads. To reincarnate is to enter a new laboratory of experience, a new field in which to forge more, inner alchemy. And yet, not all choose movement. Some linger by choice or confusion. These are the souls that remain tethered to the earth realm, not by force but by vibration. Ghosts, shadows, lingering presences, many are not lost but undecided. They haunt not places but frequencies. Often these souls seek closure, a final goodbye, an acknowledgement, a prayer. Their stagnation is a reflection of their inner state, not a sentence imposed from above. Spiritual traditions around the world, African, Andean, Celtic, hold ceremonies to assist these spirits. Lighting candles, chanting names, placing offerings, these rituals help shift the soul's vibration gently, reminding it that love is still reaching across dimensions. Such acts from the living create ripples in the beyond, guiding those in limbo toward light. But the path of free will is not one of isolation. The soul, even in its autonomy, is never alone. There are guides, elders, and forces unseen that whisper, protect, and gently steer. Still, the final direction is always chosen. The universe does not drag, it dances. And the next step, whether ascension, return, or stillness, is the soul's to take. Yet just as this decision begins to crystallize, something stirs in the distance. A thinning of veils, a sacred threshold. The final days of the journey approach, and with them, the mysteries of intercession, the role of the living in the fate of the dead. 5. Final phase, and the power of the living. As the soul approaches, days 28 through 30, a profound stillness descends. The chaos of detachment, the emotional tides of review, and the choices forged through frequency give way to a suspended clarity, a pause between realms. This stage is known in mystical traditions as the twilight threshold, a liminal space where the soul hovers between dimensions, no longer bound to its past, but not yet integrated into its next form. In Egyptian and Mayan cosmologies, this was the time of weighing, the final harmonization of energy before cosmic passage. But what few understand is that in this stage, the soul becomes most receptive to external energy. The actions of the living echo louder than ever. Ancestral wisdom teaches that love, remembrance, and ritual from this world can open luminous gates in the next. This is why cultures across time have insisted on mourning rituals that last precisely 30 or 31 days. From the Tibetan Bardo prayers, to the Afro-Caribbean Nine Nights, to the Catholic novenas and Eastern ancestor veneration rites, the message is the same. The living still matter. The soul is not a severed thread, but a frequency in flux, and the vibrations we send it, grief, forgiveness, prayer, shape the passage it undergoes. Lighting a candle becomes more than symbolism. It becomes a signal in the unseen. Speaking the soul's name is like placing a hand on its shoulder across dimensions. Pouring water on sacred earth, singing ancestral hymns, sharing their story. Each act infuses the soul's field with coherence. This is the moment where cosmic energy flows most freely between the seen and the unseen, creating a bridge of resonance. But not all rituals are equal. What empowers them is intention. It is not the incense or the chant alone, but the emotional truth behind them. The inner alchemy of the living becomes an elixir for the dead. A person who loved deeply but never spoke it aloud can now whisper it to the unseen and be heard. A family divided by silence can, through ritual, become a single voice of remembrance. These subtle energies reach the soul like beams of light in an otherwise quiet sky. In Gnostic texts hidden beneath desert sands, it is said that the heart of the living, when opened, becomes a compass for the wandering spirit. And when that compass aligns, the soul feels it, like a key unlocking its final gate. On day 31, the soul enters what many traditions call the Great Return. But this return is not to the world of the living, it is to its next place of belonging. Whether that is a higher vibrational plane, a new incarnation, or a retreat into realms beyond comprehension, depends on all that came before, the self-review, the vibrational choices, and the echoes from the living. Ancient scrolls describe this as the moment when the soul becomes weightless, luminous, unbound. It no longer seeks, it flows. It is no longer questioned, it becomes the answer. And though it may leave the vibrational radius of those still alive, its imprint remains. In dreams, synchronicities, and sudden intuitions, the soul may still whisper guiding from afar. And so, the final lesson is not about the soul alone. It is about the sacred bond between dimensions. The dead do not vanish, they evolve. The living are not passive observers. They are part of the unfolding mystery. This knowledge, preserved in prohibited texts, hidden beneath temple floors, and encoded in lullabies, reminds us that love never stops vibrating. And now that we have followed the soul through its 31-day metamorphosis, one mystery remains. If the soul can be lifted by the living, what else can we transform through intention? That, dear seeker, is the gateway to the next revelation. What happens in the silent moments after your final breath? Where does your consciousness go when the body no longer holds it? What if I told you that your soul doesn't simply vanish, but instead embarks on a sacred 31-day odyssey hidden from ordinary eyes? This is not a story of heaven or hell. This is a forbidden journey, etched into ancient scrolls, sealed in Egyptian tombs, whispered in Tibetan temples, describing what truly unfolds in the invisible realms after death. For centuries, this knowledge has been censored, burned, buried, because it reveals too much, because it hands power back to you. Inside a mysterious book, now resurfacing in esoteric circles, lies a sequence of vibrational transitions that every soul undergoes before reaching its final destination. A journey of reflection, liberation, and cosmic realignment. It's a map of the afterlife so detailed, so transformative, that even spiritual masters feared its implications. In this video, you won't just learn about death, you'll learn about what it means to truly live. Because the way we die is shaped by the energy we cultivate, the choices we make, and the frequency we carry within. As we unravel each stage, you'll discover ancient insights on self-judgment, spiritual transformation, the power of free will beyond the grave, and how the living can still alter the path of the departed. This isn't just esoteric theory. It's a cosmic truth hidden in plain sight. So if you've ever felt that there's more beyond the veil, if you've questioned the finality of death, or sensed that someone you lost still lingers just beyond reach, then this is the knowledge you were meant to find. Prepare to see death not as an end, but as an awakening. Like, comment, and subscribe. If you're ready to uncover the most hidden secrets of the soul's journey, the revelations begin now. Now that you've seen what few dare to explore, one truth echoes louder than ever. Death is not the end. It's a continuation, a sacred, unfolding written in vibrations, not words. And if the soul journeys through 31 days of transformation, what else might be hidden in the spaces we ignore? So I ask you, what energy are you cultivating today that will guide your soul tomorrow? Share your thoughts in the comments. Your insights could awaken someone else's journey. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with those who sense there's more beyond the physical.